Today I will tell you something about security in the cloud. My role is being a technology evangelist for Amazon Web Services in Europe. And as you can imagine, I travel quite often, and of course I visit a lot of countries, and I mostly speak at conferences or seminars or developers meetings, trying to give them enough insights on the Amazon Web Services and maybe some specific topics around web services and technology. So today I will tell you something about security, which is probably something that most people don't think about when they first think of a new paradigm or a new technology to use in their business. But before I start, let's see if this works. It doesn't it doesn't get forward. Let me try this one. Okay, let me keep this one and use it one. So, well, actually I skipped one slide. Let me see if I can see that. Okay, that's okay. So, how many of you buy things on Amazon? Raise your hand. Okay, that was an easy one. But for the few of you that don't, actually we need to speak in private later. I'm Italian, so I make you an offer you can't refuse. So, most people think of Amazon as a retail company, and of course, retail is one of our core businesses. But we are also a technology company, and in fact, the reason why I'm here today, and I'm talking about Amazon Web Services, is because Amazon itself spent a lot of efforts and time in building a robust and reliable infrastructure using web services. And with this expertise and, of course, the scale of a large company like Amazon, at a certain point, a few years ago, we decided that web services were actually something that could be needed from our customers and developers. So we decided to offer Amazon Web Services. We started with a simple service called S3, Amazon Simple Storage Service, and then we added more and more features. And we actually seen that most people really like the way that we provide these services because we take away the muck of dealing with infrastructure by yourself, and we let you focus on your core business, which can be, of course, a real business or maybe an educational business or a research business, depending on what kind of organization you work for. So let's see if this one works. Yes. So this is a very quick overview of the Amazon Web Services available today, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just want to give you a brief idea of what we're talking about. So most of them are building blocks that you use together to create maybe a complex infrastructure that you can use for your own purpose. This simple storage service is a way to store information in the cloud and, of course, make them available even on the internet if you need to. Together with it, we have an import-export service that allows you to physically ship or retrieve large amounts of data because maybe your internet connection is not fast enough if you need to transfer terabytes of data in a very short amount of time. CloudFront is a content delivery service that allows you to cache your content in edge locations all around the world, so the latency and download are much better. Amazon EC2 is probably one of the core services available. It provides virtual servers, on top of which you can run Linux, Windows, or Open Solaris operating systems, and on these machines you have complete root access. Of course, these machines are virtualized. We have an hypervisor, Zen hypervisor, that provides these virtual machines. But of course, you have control, full root control on these machines, which makes them very powerful and, of course, very customizable. We also have other interesting services, such as the Virtual Private Cloud, which was announced recently. It essentially allows you to tailor a part of our cloud and make it private for your own use. You create a VPN connecting your existing infrastructure to this portion of the cloud and treat it as if it was inside your own data center or inside your own infrastructure. Then we also have queuing service, which is used to orchestrate the different services all together. We have a database service called SimpleDB, which is essentially a key value database, very reliable, very stable, and auto-scalable. And it makes querying complex data in real time very easy. And of course, we also have other scientific applications, such as the Elastic MapReduce, which allows you to run Hadoop framework for complex data calculations within Amazon EC2 just with a few easy clicks. You upload your data, you upload your algorithm, your script, and then the Elastic MapReduce makes everything for you. You don't need to configure a Hadoop cluster in this case. And then we offer the Mechanical Turk, which is an on-demand workforce that allows you to automate the creation of tasks. And these tasks can be performed by users, we call them Turkers, all around the world. And you can retrieve these results automatically with APIs, of course, so you can integrate them inside your own software. So this is a very quick overview of the Amazon Web Services available today. So actually, I think I'm skipping some slides here. Okay, there should have been one slide before this one. Actually, I'm giving it to you just by voice. So the slide before this one was top reasons to adopt the cloud. And the top reasons are essentially its great flexibility. So being able to get computing resources on time without the need to wait for weeks or months. Another good reason is CapEx versus OpEx. With the cloud, you don't have to purchase infrastructure in advance, but you can just pay for what you use. And this makes new projects or the creation of new softwares or application much easier because you don't have to invest a lot of money beforehand, but you can just pay when you use it. Another interesting aspect, of course, is that with the cloud, you don't have to do planning, capacity planning, which means you don't waste unused computer capacity because, let's say, you purchased 100 servers and then you're just using 20 because your provisioning was wrong. There are also reasons why the cloud is not so interesting after all, and this is actually this slide here. So what are the reasons why the adoption is slowed down? Well, first of all, if you have a legacy software and that software can't be moved in the cloud, it means, of course, that you need to keep using it in your existing IT infrastructure. And maybe you already made large IT investments, so you already have an infrastructure in place. And in that case, it doesn't make sense to waste this investment and pay someone else to provide you with infrastructure. There is also a very subtle aspect, which I call it the human friction. If it's a different way of doing things, some people inside your organization might not be willing to change or to learn new things. Actually, moving to Amazon Web Services or moving to a new paradigm like cloud computing is not exactly difficult. The shift is very, let's say the step is very small. But most people are afraid of new things because they think that it can threaten their existing jobs, or maybe they need to learn things and they're not sure if they can do it or not. So there is always a human friction behind any kind of change. What about security? We'll see the next few slides about security, so I'll just skip this up for now. And of course, that might be internal procedures or legal constraints that are specific to your organization that, of course, prevents you from adopting cloud computing. So again, if you consider these things here, in some use cases, it might not be the right choice for you, but I think that when you know what we're talking about, when you know the details of new solutions and new paradigms, you might be able to choose wisely in which case they are interesting to be applied. Let's try this one. No, I need to keep it this one. So this is the starting point for security within Amazon Web Services, there is this nice URL here, which essentially has 4 parts. The first part is the security center, in which you have resources, white papers, and other things. We also periodically release security bulletins to keep you informed of what happens in the field of security within Amazon Web Services. And then we provide some background information about how we deal with security, how we manage security, and then something about the security credentials that you can use. In specific, we have multi-factor authentication and key rotation to ensure a higher level of security. So again, I think that in these slides, some slides are just, they just skip. So there is some problem with the slides, and I hope that you will bear with me. So the first slide before this one was about the security certifications that we have. We are actively working with external audit companies to comply with different security certifications, such as SOX or SAS 70 Type 2. And as you know, these certifications are very strict and very serious and are among the top certifications in the security world. And of course, Amazon makes no exception because we have a very strong focus on security. Being Amazon, of course, we have this since the beginning. But in specific for Amazon Web Services, we know that we are managing an environment in which hundreds of thousands of customers are using our services every day, which means that we need to really focus a lot on security and give you certifications and insurances about how we deal with that. So this slide here now, this is how we design our security, the design principles behind our security. We have formal design reviews whenever we create new features or new services, and of course we run threat modeling on all our software. So the software that, of course, creates the Amazon platform and infrastructure. We always do the complexion of risk assessment for all the steps that we take into building our new services or improving existing services. And of course, we also do what's called the static code analysis, which is a very complicated thing that tries to ensure that there is no specific bug or error that can then result in security bugs or security holes. And then, of course, even after we release something, after we've released some product, we always do recurring penetration tests. This is, of course, to be sure that our security is always top-notch, is always at a top level that we can obtain. So another slide was missing, so I'll just keep going with this. And in case, if you have specific questions, I will just leave it to the session after the other talks. So we have a redundant infrastructure here and in place. For example, when you store files into S3, each file, S3 is the simple storage service, each file is replicated multiple times in multiple data centers. These data centers are on different power grids and on different floodplains. I don't know what's happening with this. I'm not touching anything, but it's moving by itself. It's animated. Any ghost here? Can I finish my presentation, please? Thanks. So I was saying that we have multiple data centers, and each data center is on different power grids and on different floodplains. This means that even if one entire data center is wiped out or is just offline for a long time because of some network problems or other problems, the other data centers will still be up and running, which means that your data, your files, will still be available from other data centers. And of course, if we detect bit rot, which means when some file is corrupted, we detect it and we replicate a new copy of that file from a good copy, not from the corrupted copy. So we keep the redundancy always, all the time, and this is transparent to you. You don't see what we do behind the scenes. You just know that your data is redundant and it's safe within different different data centers, which might be in Europe or in the US. EBS is a specific service related to EC2. EBS is called the Elastic Block Store. It actually provides you with a virtual block device from 1 to 1,000 gigabytes, and you can create a file system on top of it and then mount this file system to an existing EC2 instance. This volume is persistent. It means that if the EC2 instance, if the virtual server goes down or you just shut it down, you don't lose the data stored into EBS. So EBS is usually, for example, to run database servers or to run application servers because the data is preserved and it's redundant. But that data, that EBS volumes, these EBS volumes are replicated within the same availability zone. So we have different availability zones, so physically separated data centers, and then we have regions, US or Europe. This means that if you want to be sure that your data is safe, you need to replicate the data stored into EBS using, for example, S3. So S3 is more of a, let's say, a repository for large static files, while EBS might be used for file system-like operations. And you need to consider this when you plan your infrastructure. Let's see if the ghost can allow me to go on. Okay, so these 5 A's behind AWS security is actually an interesting acronym. And I don't know if any of you know this acronym here. It's called a typo. And I just forgot these 5 A's behind the title. So that's my fault, and that's not the ghost this time. So there is some specific security behind all the different products. For example, EC2, the virtual server, the Elastic Compute Cloud, we have different security levels at the host operating system, which is the hypervisor that virtualizes all the machines. And we have, of course, security on the guest operating system, which is the operating system on which you have root access. And of course, we provide an in-house firewall that by default closes all the ports on these machines. So for example, if you create an AWS account and then you subscribe to EC2 because you want to play with it, you want to use it, then you launch an instance and then you try to SSH, so to connect securely to that instance, it's closed. And you see, oh, what's happening here? Is there any problem? Well, the thing is that by default, everything is closed. So you have to specifically say, I want to open port 22 on that machine or on that security group of which that machine belongs to. Otherwise, you will not be able to access it. And of course, APIs are always sent through secure channels. So there is actually no way to intercept this call and to do something that you didn't want to do. All instances are isolated between each other, so there is no way for another customer to see what you're doing in your instance. And we also provide, as I mentioned before, different availability zones within regions and also different regions, which means that if you want to run a high availability, high available application, you can just run different EC2 instances in different availability zones and sync them using a high availability software such as Heartbeat or other things like that. And in this way, if one availability zone has a failure, the other zone will be unaffected, which means that your application will still be up and running and serving your customers. Another example, S3, the simple storage service. As you can guess, people store large amounts of data into S3. What happens when that data is canceled? Of course, we have a specific policy also about storage decommissioning. So before we throw away one used or broken hard disk drive, we do exactly all the steps needed to be sure that no one is able to read that data if they can get the broken hard disk drive and try to read it. And of course, there are many other things related to the security that we provide on these services. Just to be sure that you don't miss these missing slides too much, a lot of these details are available on a white paper on security, which is available on the main AWS website, which is aws.amazon.com. Let's see if I have... Okay, this is the last slide before my thank you note, so I got this. So I just wanted to give you some conclusions about security in the cloud. I'm not saying that everything is safe, that everything is perfect, because as we know, security is a very complex topic. However, Amazon Web Services, since it has a very strong focus on security in mind, provides a lot of services and a lot of procedures and a lot of certifications around security, because we want to ensure you that we do our best to secure your environment while you work on what you do best, while you develop your application or run your business. And if you look at all these details, of course, you will see that there is something that you should do in order to be secure. For example, you are responsible for the operating system that you run. You are root on Linux or Windows or OpenSolaris, which means that if you don't run that server in a proper way, that server might be attacked by someone, as if it could be on other environments or other infrastructures. But apart from this, there are other tools, other mechanisms that we put in place and that help you a lot in having a very high level of security within the Amazon cloud. Let's see if I have the last slide. It was not here, so, oh, it's here, magic. So this is a thank you note for you, and actually, this is my email address, so I can guess that I will have to work on inbox this weekend. I was thinking of going back to my home country, Assisi, in Italy, you know, the home of Saint Francis. Very relaxing place, good food, nice weather. So I really have to thank David for giving you my email address, because I will not enjoy the sun, but rather be on a computer doing email all the time. So thank you for your attention, and if you need the complete slides of these presentations, since some of them were missing, I invite you to send me an email, and I will be happy to give it to you. And last note, since a lot of people here seem to use Twitter, my Twitter username is Simon, S-I-M-O-N, so it's pretty difficult to remember, I guess. So if you want to comment or if you want to say hello, you're more than welcome to do this. Thank you very much.